Stellar Life, mission log number 272.
We so often think that we need something from the outside in order to be whole, but that is just an illusion. The truth is that we are all complete beings and that we have just forgotten where we put stuff, and that we have learned to think in certain patterns that don't allow us to even look for things within ourselves. And the quantum fields that we have created, again, think of it like light beams becoming very bundled, and this is the same thing, quantum fields becoming very bundled, so they become very concentrated. They can support us in this whole journey of remembering that it's a constant reminder of, hey, you are whole, you are everything that you are designed to be.
Welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. Get inspired and live out loud. From love, freedom, and success to having it all. Here's your host, coach, speaker, and shining star, Orion.
Roger, you're looking good.
Welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. This is your host, Orion, and today you're in for a real special, magical episode. We all can be whole, complete, and high-performing, and often it's just a matter of remembering and connecting to the quantum fields to know that we are a wonderful, self-empowered system and we can heal ourselves. We have learned to think in different patterns that prevents us from our potential, and the connection to the quantum fields can break the illusion and help us heal on all levels. Today I have with me two extraordinary guests, Philipp and Cru von Holtzendorff-Fehling. Philipp is a coach, conscious entrepreneur, and energy healer in parallel to an extremely successful international business career. He started to also see energy fields and got trained in past life work and shamanic healing. Cru is a coach, alpha chi teacher, and energy healer. Cru was already born with the ability to see energy fields and people's auras, and then further developed her unique skills as a healer. She has coached and helped countless individuals and business clients in Europe, USA, and Asia for about 20 years. Philipp and Cru have a beautiful love story that led to creating an amazing multidimensional quantum technology device and products. You can have the products in your home or wear it on your body for protection from harmful EMFs, just to increase well-being. You can use it for healing or for manifesting. So follow us into the fascinating world of pure magic and science of quantum energy and frequencies. And now, without further ado, on to the show.
2, 1, 0.
Hello, Cru and Philipp, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. I'm super excited that you're here. Thank you so much.
So nice to be here with you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. And before we begin, can you guys share a little bit about yourselves as an individual? And you're married, so maybe a little bit about yourself and how you operate in the world together.
Sounds good. I was just asked to start, so I'm going to do that. So, yeah, just in a nutshell, I'm from Germany originally and grew up there, and then moved to the US in the 90s. In 2005, I met my wife, Cru, who's now right next to me, and we figured that we both loved it in the US and that we would be back together. So that's kind of what we made happen. We have 2 kids together, and now we've lived in the US since 2010, actually. And for me, and just so people that haven't heard about me yet, so I used to be in corporate Europe and in corporate America. I also worked as a vice president at T-Mobile, which is kind of interesting because we do a lot of EMF harmonization stuff nowadays. Mm-hmm. And at that time, I was kind of on the other side, if you will. But since the beginning of the 2000s, I really started to work more on myself, figure out that there's a lot more than just the material world that I had been so focused on, because I had really forgotten who I am, who I was. And then I started to go through shamanic workshops and past life workshops, and was actually trained in that as well. And with meeting my wife, Cru, who will talk about her abilities and everything, of course, herself, but she has some amazing abilities since birth. And that actually amplified my journey. And yeah, at some point, a lot of things came together. And since 2016, I've not been in corporate anymore at all, which was really a stretch in the end because of the energetic spiritual journey that didn't really fit too much with the corporate world. So I've been, since that time, only doing pretty much what I felt called to do. And that ultimately led into what Leela Quantum Tech is about today, what I'm working on there. And yeah, we can go into more details, of course. But there was one thing I'm always being asked, okay, so the health and wellness space, so how did you end up there? That passion that I really had in me in a dormant way came to life when Cru was diagnosed with the chronic Lyme disease. And of course, she has her own healing abilities and all of that, but it kind of sparked within me to always find the next best stuff. And in that way, that was pretty helpful. And that is certainly one of the cornerstones that also led to Leela Quantum Tech ultimately.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So I was the guinea pig.
You were the muse.
Yes, I like that much better. I would have liked to be a muse in a less painful way.
Yeah.
So where do I start? Well, I was born remembering who I was. Like, I have never lost the ability to know about past lives and who I am as a being. And I had a very wonderful and insightful mother that nourished that notion. She did not say, "Oh, you're crazy," like, stop talking about those things, like, grow up and be like everybody else. She was really helping me to maintain this ability to see things on a holistic level, like the soul and the auras and the beings and the nature and things like that were really major when I was little. And then it became more focused on people with getting older. And then, of course, there was a time when I wanted to be like everybody else, and I didn't want to see the world in a way that no one else was actually able to see things. And yeah, with becoming an adult and also becoming a mother, I started to really start to focus on being this being that can see and turn it into something that can be beneficial for the world around me. In the beginning, it was really my children that started to kick that in gear, and then it turned into practice now that I'm working with people all over the world on helping them understand themselves better and discover who they really are and what they really want to express themselves within this life.
Yeah, and we had one session together, and it was so profound. It was so good. I just really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed your energy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that one. So, Philip, when you had your awakening and you transitioning out of the business world and you're becoming this woo-woo guy with the past life regressions and shamanic work, how did the environment react to you, and what was your awakening like?
I think one important thing is that often it's misunderstood that, you cross the street and then you're suddenly enlightened. I think it's rather that may be possible for some rare instances. Usually it's a process. Mm-hmm. And that's also what it was for me, a very long process of peeling the onion, if you will. And I must say, while I was in corporate, in these positions, it wasn't really something that I talked about because it wasn't something at the time, and it may change now these years, but at the time it wasn't something you could really talk about. It was too far away from the just the regular material and how you're supposed to view the world, kind of thing. It was almost like a parallel life in a way. And yeah, but I noticed, of course, that things changed as I was changing. Things around me also changed. But at some point, that stretch was just too big. I couldn't really do that anymore. And I had to be myself all the time. And it was also difficult in our relationship when I was just in this other world all the time. And then you come home after a busy day, and then you need to switch back right away into this real self, if you will. It's hard to do that.
Yeah, it's like living two different lives.
Yeah, and it was very freeing for me, and that was certainly also a process to learn how to do it in a completely different way. But just always being able to show who you are and be that, and then follow what you feel called to do is, yeah, that's an aspect of freedom that's very valuable that I didn't know at the time.
Yeah. And Cru, I really like that your mom was so understanding and was open to you being just who you are, which is so important for a kid and for an evolved soul to feel safe in this world.
Yes.
Yeah, and you said that you remembered your past lives. What kind of things did you remember as a child?
In the beginning, it was really like I didn't even understand the difference between this and another one. Of course, we know that the soul is immortal, so there is no real death if you live in consciousness. So it was all things were melting together. This was not stories, but when I met people, I knew that I had met them before. When I saw the nature around me, when I was in church, I was raised Catholic, I was understanding the stories that they tell, they're not the truth in every way. I almost felt like I know the truth, but I couldn't express it as a child. I couldn't say, hey, what you're telling us is just partly the truth, or you're like taking things out of the story.
Can you give me an example, like an example of a story that you've been told and it wasn't the right one?
Yeah. So for instance, generality, I don't know if that's even an English word. I'm also German. So
That's okay. English is my second language and I make mistakes all the time. So
good. So I'm inventing words all the time. So in general, people were told that they were sinners and that they have to try so hard. I remember I was 6 years old and I was in church because we have the Holy Communion with 6. And so I was in church a lot. And I had to listen to all these stories that we always, am so wrong at things. And I was looking around in the church and I thought, that is not true. Like, I can see all the things that are maybe sideways and not quite right, but I could also see all the really beautiful things. And then there was this God that was supposed to be so judgmental, and he's going to judge over us at the end of the days, and I'm 47, so this has been a long time ago. And in Germany, things were very different then than they are today in church. And so everything was very strict and still very driven by guilt. And I constantly felt like I was always looking at Jesus and I thought, I know you. I know that this is not the truth. And I was like, can that be true? I see it differently. So I had conversations with the angels and with Jesus himself. And all I felt the whole time was so much love and so much acceptance. And so I didn't get it together, like what the surrounding world was telling me and what I felt like was the truth. And of course, when you're the only one knowing the truth, you eventually start to question whether maybe you are wrong and everybody else is right, So with getting older, I was starting to focus more and more on trying to not see everything and not try to figure out what is right and what is wrong. But there was a lot of things from past lives. I remember as a child, I was very vividly remembering, then later not so much, but in general, it was almost like everything was familiar to me. Everything was something that I have done before, or it's not so much stories. It's more like understanding that I have always been there and that I never went away and that I know everybody. And it sounds weird, but it's different when you live in a consciousness and not very connected to the physical experience, because I was not good at being human. Like in a sense, I wasn't really eating a lot, like I was not very attached to that physical form. And actually, thanks to my husband and Lyme's disease, I am today very well immersed into my human experience of this life. And because he brought all that ground, like just as much as my abilities helped him to awaken, his ability to be so strongly in this human world has helped me so much to put my feet on the ground. And
That's so beautiful.
yes, it was really like, I feel like we both have kind of saved each other, which was not always so easy.
It never is.
No.
It's easy on Instagram.
Yeah. Yes. So I had a very different experience as a child than I have today being psychic. And today I don't even look into past life, because today I believe that the present moment is the only moment that I can be active and powerful within. So if I need to know something from the past, then I'll go look. But that is really something I learned how to switch things on and off, whether it is for a client or if it is on the street in the city with tons of people, or it is just being with myself. Like there's a switch. And if I need to see something, then I will look. And if I don't, if it's not necessary for the moment, then I won't.
It's beautiful. Philip, I just love what you just said about how, I'm going to use that word, muse, how she was your muse to go out there and relentlessly find solutions to help her. Can you share a little bit about that journey and how did you approach it?
Yes. So when she got diagnosed with Lyme disease, she already had, quite some impact, but it got worse. And then we moved to the US, and really she was not doing well at all.
What's not doing well? Like, I don't know what's the effects of Lyme disease.
A lot of fatigue
and
pain,
sleeplessness
and things like that. Issues with digesting certain foods and stuff like that. So, I started to just read a whole lot and to listen a lot and to just follow my impulses on, okay, so what maybe the next article that I should read or the next thing we should try.
What did you try?
Ultimately, it led us to certain different aspects of healing modalities. Like, I guess she tried the Rife machine. She went to Dr. Klinghardt. She tried various supplements.
Which is actually all been you, because at that time, and I have to say that I was very stubborn, not accepting that I really was that sick. And I was so sick, like I could be up maybe 3-4 hours for the kids a day. And then the rest of the time I was just like suffering through the day.
That's horrible.
You found Dr. Klinghardt, you found the acupuncturist.
Who is that doctor?
Dr. Klinghardt, he's probably Lyme disease guru. He's known all over the world, and he is in the Seattle area. And yeah, he's very well known in the US and all over the world. And he has a very alternative approach to healing. So really very holistic. And it wouldn't be of a surprise to anybody if he suggests that you should go to a shaman, for example, as part of the whole healing journey. And there's certainly a lot of different supplements. And then he looks at the person, or him in his office, frankly, look at the person and figure out, okay, what individually would help. And that was really not the only thing, but I think it was a good ingredient. And to open our minds further, then, there were certain other things that also helped along the way. But yeah, those were some.
Especially you always going against that resistance that I had so much at that time.
To drink water.
Yeah, he called me 5 times a day to ask if I had taken my things and drank my water.
Oh, that's true love.
He really saved my life.
Oh.
Like, even though at that time I thought I was so exhausted and I was so helpless to figure that out, how to do this in this body. So I was not fighting for myself. And you were really the one that made me fight every time when I didn't want anymore. Then he pulled me on my hair to the next shaman.
Well, the good news is obviously that she completely healed the Lyme disease, right? And it was chronic.
How many years was that? Did you suffer from it?
13.
Oh, gosh.
But she was diagnosed very late, right? So that many, many years after the actual tick bite, she was diagnosed and she had not known she had it. So that I think that's important to know, because there wasn't anything that could be done like so quickly. So it really was a journey. I think looking back, it was a great teacher for her. It was a great teacher for me. So, and now that she also overcame it completely, I think gives hope to everybody that has Lyme disease. Well, I may never get rid of this disease, but it's absolutely possible. So
Yes,
we
definitely.
know that firsthand.
Yeah, what do you think helped? So apparently his love helped the most because he never gave up.
Yes.
And having somebody who believes in you so much is already a cure.
Yes.
And then, so you went to that doctor and you did the supplements. And what do you think was the thing that really helped you, or was it a combination of things?
It was definitely a combination of things. I needed to understand why I have Lyme's disease, because I think that every disease is actually a message that we didn't listen to in time. So I needed to understand definitely why I have it. And for me, that was, I needed to start to respect the limitations, which I saw as limitations of the physical body, which of course I understand today that there's no limitation in the physical body either, but I didn't see it from that side, so I looked from outside to this very limited body and didn't want to treat it the way how it should have been treated. Like, I was just always in an energetic level. I was so extremely high performance oriented and never really took a break. And didn't matter, like to me either, until my body eventually gave in and said, no, we cannot do this for the rest of your life. So you need to learn how to treat me in a way that I am one with you and that you care also for my physical needs, so I can highly perform till the end of the days. And once I learned that and I accepted that, and that was definitely a spiritual journey. And plus all of the things, like really taking care of the different organs that were so damaged with supplements and with acupuncture, pain management, better sleep. And then eventually I changed my diet to all vegan and no sugar. And that has really, really, really improved. I was already quite far with that healing process. And then we found C60. Which I thought, he came with another thing and I'm like, okay, I'll take it. And that I was already pretty good at that time. Like, also getting out of that state of pain the whole time by actually moving again. I started playing tennis. In the beginning, it was 10 minutes a week and I had to recover for the whole week until I could play again. And at some point I was able to play 3 hours in Memphis Sun, so it was
on one day.
Yeah. And
Wow,
and another
amazing.
few times in the week. And I was also biking a lot more, and we went back to yoga. I did a lot of yoga. And the C60 came at the end where I just couldn't get rid of some of that arthritis that kept creeping in and over the winter and made me really miserable when things got cold.
Can you share, what is it? C60? You said, what is that?
Yeah. C60, that's carbon 60. Maybe you talk a little bit about that.
Sure. It's a special molecule. It's carbon, but it's carbon in a very specific shape. And it has some absolutely amazing qualities. It's more expensive than gold, frankly.
Wow.
And you can, if you dissolve it in oil, in a lipid, then the body can actually leverage it. And the way that it was found out actually that it has healing abilities was in 2012, because before that time, C60 was already used in various products, and it optimized every product that they put it in. Even in car tires and things like that. It was just way too expensive for something like that. And then the NASA started using it, and then they did a study, a toxicity study at the University of Paris, which is frankly a very reputable university in Europe. And they wanted to find the lethal doses of it, because that's what you typically do with substances that you don't know much about that are being used in industrial applications and so on. So they did a rat study, and half of the rats got the C60 and the other half didn't get the C60. Long story short, that all of the rats that did not get the C60 died at their normal age, which was pre-programmed to, I think it was 2 years. They have those P52 knockout rats for the people that know about this. And all the rats that got the C60 kept living, frankly, until the point where they said, well, we wanted to find the lethal doses, and we can't. They literally shoved the C60 down the throats of the rats, if you will, and they just couldn't kill the rats, and it wouldn't even have a negative effect on them. They hit them with the lethal doses of radiation. It couldn't kill the rats. They gave them cancer-causing medication, didn't kill the rats. And so those rats basically that got the C60 lived twice as long. And the last rat they actually even had to kill. After that, they cut the rats open that had gotten the C60 and looked at the organs, and they were all in absolutely great shape. So that was the first time where something really crazy happened. And from there, a lot of scientists started researching it more. Actually, someone that discovered the C60 molecule also had gotten the Nobel Prize. I think that was in the late 80s. Yeah, that's in a nutshell pretty much, the story of C60.
And is that available for everyone to buy, or?
Yes. Yeah, it's available for everybody. It's not available everywhere, though. It's just certain companies that produce it. We do have a company that makes it in the US and in Europe, but then there are other companies as well. So you can definitely find it. It should be available in most countries by now.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But you wouldn't find it in a grocery store or something like that. It hasn't made its way into Whole Foods yet. And things like that, but you can find it definitely online.
Do you think everyone should take it? Do you guys still take it?
Yes.
Yeah, we still take it.
So you're going to live to what, like 180?
Well, that hasn't been done, what it
hasn't been around long enough, but
to answer that question, frankly, yeah, I have no problem with that. And that doesn't relate to C60, frankly, because there's no reason we shouldn't get way older. It's absolutely possible. It's just a program to think that we all need to die before we turn 100, and it's not really the case. So that's a different story. And C60 is just one thing that may help on that journey.
Right. And I want to know how you got from working at T-Mobile to, well, you could have told me about your journey, but how did you found quantum tech?
Yes, so the C60 actually happened in a special moment where I was listening to a podcast that had nothing to do with C60, and I was very interested in the topic that they were discussing. I remember I was on a business travel. I was not anymore in corporate at the time. And then they suddenly talked about C60, and I instantly knew I need to pay attention. Like, this is something super special. And so then I started researching it very deeply and heavily, and then we actually started making it ourselves for us, for friends, and then a business turned out of that.
Which business came out of the C60?
It's called Leela Labs. We make C60 products.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you just, because I know about the quantum cube and all that.
Leela Quantum Tech. Yeah, Leela Quantum Tech is definitely my main focus. So I don't talk too much about Leela Labs nowadays. And Leela Quantum Tech is way more unique because there are also other companies that do C60. But it all happened out of this moment where I knew there's something very, very important and that I or we should follow. And the same pretty much happened with the quantum technology. Basically, a lot of different things came together. And it was also the possibility of merging science and consciousness and creating certain energies and frequencies that can promote healing and help with the product world. So that basically you can go to a healer that helps you energetically with certain frequency adjustments and other things. But on a certain level, we have found a way on how you can recreate that with products. And that is something where I also felt this calling that, this is something. And there were obstacles on the way, a lot of obstacles where I could have said, okay, no, I'll turn my back to this now.
What kind of obstacles?
Well, I mean, just regular things that you would encounter. I guess everybody encounters when it's about business, and certainly products that just like that, if you don't have any scientific results, people would be like, okay, so, is this really something that works? And I doubled down on it, actually. Each time there was an obstacle. And in regards to the science, by the way, like we have created so many different studies and third-party test results. Now we have certified products all over the place. So it was because it was the time for it. It was the right thing to do. And that's why, we're here, and it's quite some cool stuff.
It is really, really cool.
That we use ourselves every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so much fun too, because it really merges this world of science and consciousness, and that working together with some of the most amazing healers, of which Cru is one of them, and then trying to come up with products that really help people. And that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Cru, what is quantum energy?
That's
In a nutshell.
I always explain it. Like the other day, I explained it to actually a friend of our 14-year-old. So he wanted to know what that is. And I explained to him that quants are the smallest particles of matter, and that everything is moving. And when things are moving with one another, they create fields. It's like a laser. When you have one light beam, it doesn't do much. But when you bundle them together, it becomes a very powerful laser. And the same is with quantum fields, that we are all based on quants. Like we all are quantum fields. Like everything out there in creation is based on quantum fields. We all have them. And if we bundle them together, then we become strong fields that can work like a healer. It's like something that can make us remember how we originally wanted to be before we put all sorts of conditioning on our consciousness that prevents us from knowing how we could be in a very whole way, because all of us naturally can be everything whole and complete and healed and high performing. And this is really just our conditioning, the way how we live our lives, that take this ability away. But it's often just a matter of remembering, and also remembering the physical body. And those really concentrated quantum fields, they are basically a very, very loud reminder to our quantum fields when we're exposed to that concentrated quantum field, that we are that amazing, powerful, self-empowered and complete and whole system that can heal itself. We so often think that we need something from the outside in order to be whole, but that is just an illusion. The truth is that we are all complete beings, and that we have just forgotten where we put stuff, and that we have learned to think in certain patterns that don't allow us to even look for things within ourselves. And the quantum fields that we have created, again, think of it like light beams becoming very bundled. And this is the same thing, quantum fields becoming very bundled, so they become very concentrated. They can support us in this whole journey of remembering that. It's a constant reminder of, hey, you are whole. You are everything that you are designed to be. Disease is an illusion. And I'm not saying that everything that comes with the disease is an illusion. Definitely, we're living it and we're feeling the pain. And there's a whole lot of really awful stuff out there. But what is the illusion is that we need something other than ourselves. Like, definitely we need it until we have totally remembered how to fix everything within ourselves and enter all of those depots that we have created where we kind of stock things away and then forget about them. Products are an amazing bridge to where we originally came from as beings and then go to again now on that journey of becoming conscious and whole. So yeah, that's like very basic. I'm sure that there's a whole lot of science, there's a whole lot of people that can explain it scientifically much better than that. But this is easy enough.
You know, sometimes the most simple explanation is the one that resonates with people. A lot of people can use big words and explanation, scientific, and they have their place. But when you were talking, I felt the energy behind the words, and it really resonated with me. For me, it was the best quantum explanation ever. Congratulations. Philip, I want to ask you about the science or the magic. So we have at home 2 infinity blocks. We opened one. We haven't opened the other one. We just purchased it at the biohacking conference. Was it 2 months ago, 3 months ago?
Yeah, I think it's in the end of September.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
What is the quantum block and what is the infinity block and what is the difference between the two?
Yeah, so we call it the actual technology that we make available that way so that people can leverage really the full breadth and depth of this energy. And we use basically similar devices to make all the other products that we offer, right? Like the water bottles and the capsules and all of that. So what it is, in between the plates of the quantum block as well as the infinity block, there's a multidimensional, highly concentrated quantum energy space. Distance and time don't matter in that space. So that means you can instantly create certain things that you couldn't outside of that field. So if you put something inside, like a frequency, let's say a vitamin C pill or a frankincense, then you can copy that frequency almost instantly into another object that's in the same space, so in between the plates. Also, if you put a product in like a watch or a ring or anything, then you can imprint it with pure quantum energy. And that happens in a permanent way. So if you take a golden Rolex watch, for example, that's already, I would say, probably a pretty beautiful piece. If you put it in there, after that, you'll feel and see even a higher vibration of it, and it becomes more beautiful. And that's the minimum of what people will notice, that it is more beautiful. Certainly people that can see energies or notice energies really well, they'll feel and see the higher vibration of it. And certainly you can put any other product in there, like your water or raspberries, that you can enhance that way energetically. Those are some things you can do with it because of this super concentrated field. But you don't even have to do anything with it. You can just put it in your home, and it has this constant field all the time, right? So this is very, very concentrated inside the plates, but outside of that, there's still quite a large radius with a less dense field, and that also resonates constantly with the human cells or with animal cells or plants even. It harmonizes EMF and it neutralizes EMF. The difference between the quantum block and the infinity block is basically that the infinity block is much stronger. So it's about 6.5 times stronger, the basic infinity block, than the quantum block. So the quantum block has a field of about 145 feet. That's the radius. And within about 50% of that, it harmonizes all EMF. The infinity block has a field of about 1 kilometer. And within, 40, 50% of that, it neutralizes and harmonizes EMF. And certainly other frequencies as well. It's just EMF is what most people are familiar with. They instantly know what that is and how that works to some extent, at least. And yeah, so those are some of those main differences between the two products. And yeah, with the infinity block also, so you have two, so you have the luxury of having two, which we call the infinity block package, because if you physically have two, then you can actually even upgrade the concentration of the field as often as you want or need in the future, which is something that you may really want to do over time, but it's certainly nothing that you would do every week because it would be way too powerful then too quickly. It's quite powerful.
Yeah. How do you guys put the quantum field into the device?
Well, that's a proprietary method. That's the only thing that we can't share.
That's the only thing that I'm curious about since I got that thing. I was like, how did they put the thing into the thing? And
yeah, that's the trick. Well, and then also we've done a lot of testing also to refine it exactly to the functions it has. And it has something pretty amazing, actually, because what's destructive to life and destructive to consciousness is being neutralized, and you also cannot manipulate with it. So whatever is not part of the universal plan or your soul's plan, for example, it couldn't be manipulated. But everything that is within this realm of possibilities, you can manifest it way, way quicker.
Okay, 2 questions. How do I heal? Because I had kimchi. And I don't know, maybe it's the mix of the kimchi and some new probiotics that I got. I don't know what it is. But I had food poisoning for the last 2 weeks. I had incredible, it went from cramps to heartburn to all kinds of things, feeling really weak. Today I feel good, but the last 2 weeks were really awful. How do I use the quantum block to heal? It's the infinity block, and to manifest.
Yep, great questions. So first of all, of course, since we're also representing Leela Quantum Tech, we need to say and mention that our products are not intended to diagnose, treat, or prevent any disease. But that being said,
they do.
Of course, of course, we've had multiple people actually that have reported amazing results, and we have all of those different studies, right? For example, with blood improvement and all these things.
Yeah, always consult your doctor.
What do? So the one thing I haven't mentioned is that we work with specific frequencies also for various use cases, and even for certain problems, even physiological problems, we do have certain frequencies. So sometimes it's good to introduce one of those and also work with those. But aside from that, you can put your hands or your feet or another body part inside the block for a couple times a day or 3 times a day. You could even put a picture of yourself inside. You can add an affirmation or an intention to that picture. So let's say you print out a relatively current picture of yourself, and you can write down healing, for example, or whatever you feel would be needed now for yourself, and you put it inside. For some people, that may sound crazy, but it's not crazy at all. Actually, it works 100%. It works all the times, and we've proven that, and we're actually also not the only ones that prove that quantum entanglement works. That's been proven multiple times in labs. It just happens to be that with our technology, you can now at home do that yourself.
For how long do I put the photo in?
That's where the difference comes in between a TV or a radio and a quantum device like that, because for TV, you can say exactly this is the manual and everybody has to use it that way for it to function exactly this way. But with a quantum device, it really takes into account that everybody is so different. You have a very different story and a state of your body and energetic system than I do, than Cru does, and that everybody else does. So it needs to be adjusted to that. That's why we can only generalize that in the beginning, rather shorter, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, especially for people that have never been exposed to quantum energy and have not done any healing work of that kind. Start small, shorter, and then you can increase it, certainly. If someone has done a lot of work like that, I can put my picture in there for 24 hours and it's fine. I feel good, but I've worked with this for a long, long time.
And we live in a very strong field. We have like 5 blocks in a radius of 20 meters, so we are exposed to a very strong field all the time because they start communicating with one another once there's more than one, and they will create like a really, really much stronger field also outside of them than, so we're used to a lot.
What if I'll take somebody that is not in that strong field and put their picture there for 24 hours? Are they going to explode?
No. He put me in there once when I was in Germany, and I think it was during my girly days and I needed some support, and he put me in there and he forgot me for 2 hours or something like that. It was the very first time. It's quite a long time ago. And I was wondering why I wouldn't sleep. Like, I was so highly awake all night until like I had trouble falling asleep. I was so awake, and I slept for 4 hours and then I was wide awake again. And that went on for like a couple of days until we finally made the connection that I was so energized that I just didn't need any sleep. So it didn't really do anything negative to me. It was just, I had very little sleep, and eventually your body, I think eventually we can be like that, but we're not there yet as humans, that we don't need to sleep at all when we eat foods that we eat momentarily and live the way how we live. But so it wasn't harmful. And that is something that happens for a lot of people, that they become so energized and not really find that downtime so easy then if it's too much. But eventually it will run out, like that energy.
So I would always say, so it can start detox effects and it can have an impact on the nervous system, right? So that you really then feel it, and then you need to drink a lot and maybe pause. And what we tell people always is to really listen to your intuition. So for yourself, and even if you do that for someone else, I don't know, maybe you have a friend that at some point doesn't feel so good and then has something going on, maybe you can help her by putting the picture in, right? Then you can feel what is the right time. And if you're not so certain, just put the picture in, and at some point you'll know when it's the right time to take it out. And again, in the beginning, rather not so long, and then you can increase it. It's very important because we have that knowledge, and we always encourage people to use that knowledge. And it's not about thinking about what's the right time, it's feeling. And even if that sounds difficult, that's how it works.
And there's actually another way that is really amazing with the quantum fields, is that, I mean, yes, you can put your hands in there on your picture and all of that, but it works also on a very profound level. Like, let's say you have a quantum block or an infinity block or more than one at your house. You can definitely be sure, if you have something, that eventually something that will help you to overcome it will show up. Like, even though you don't have any intentions towards that, or you don't even want it, you will definitely learn about something. Somebody comes and tells you about this really new whatever that is then curing your tummy problem, or something else. Or I have this really big heartache because I was left in a long-term relationship or whatever, and my heart is broken. Definitely, eventually something will show up that helps you to overcome that, even though you don't put your hands and your feet in there. This is something that is very profound. It's almost like training your whole system to be open to solution, no matter what your problem is. If you have if you have a food poisoning, you need something that eliminates the poison within your food and helps you to get rid of whatever weakens your body. And you can strengthen your blood and your whole system with the quantum block. But I'm sure that somebody will show up and tell you exactly, and that might be us after this podcast, what else you can do, and this is always like this with everybody that I know that has these blocks at home now. We have noticed that there's solution always just around the corner, no matter what problem you have. So you're attracting solution over staying in stagnation or in distraction, or even destruction,
Amplified synchronicities, basically.
Yeah.
Right. And I can say that when we just assembled it and I just put my hand there, I felt so hot for like 10 minutes. I was so hot. There was this like surge of energy in my body. And then my toddler came in and he's 2 years old. He just put his hand for 2 seconds and he just immediately took it back. I guess it was really strong. He just like touched it and pulled it back so fast and gave me this little look and smile. And 10 minutes later came and did it again really quickly. It's so cute.
Kids are so perceptive. They totally know this kind of stuff, especially the kids from today. They come with such high consciousness. So they totally understand what is within this field, because there's consciousness within these fields, right? Like it's what we are all made of. So they're recognizing this is me, even though it's not him, but they're still like, this can be very spiritual if we go deeper into this consciousness talk, but in the end is there's no difference between our consciousness and the consciousness, and it is because we are all whole and amazing and complete. It's just that we still have so much conditioning that keeps us, and kids don't have so much conditioning so they recognize these things much easier.
Yeah, for sure. I want to be respectful of your time, even though I want to keep talking to you both. So before we say goodbye for now, I have 2 questions. One is, what are your 3 top tips to living a stellar life? And number 2 is, where can people find you?
Okay, you start.
All right, so I start with the last question first. So we have a Telegram group. It's a private user group, so you wouldn't be able to find it in the search function, but I'll send you, if I haven't done that already, the link to that, the invite link, in case anybody's interested, because there you can find a lot more information, ask tons of questions, and you can even find me personally there, even private message me. So that's the best way to find me. Yes, we have a website and everything, but to learn more and get in touch, that would be the recommended way. And then what are the 3 recommendations? Well, follow your heart. That's maybe has been overused over time, but it doesn't get old. It's really follow your heart in the end of the day and try to figure out what's truly yours.
That's my tagline on Skype.
Oh, there you go. I had no idea. So that's that. I think that's the main thing. I don't know if there's actually so much else. That's my number one thing, and then just maybe some practical things, because in today's world, people are struggling with everything that's going on, and there's a lot of fear mongering and all of that out there. So if we can just connect with ourselves in the mornings and in the evenings before we, when we wake up, before we go to bed, and just connect with ourselves, just if we constantly do that and feel us a little bit more, then everything becomes a lot easier. It really does. And these are just some things where you don't have to meditate for 30 minutes a day. Yeah, meditation is great, but just a couple of minutes here and there can help quite a lot. And it has helped me quite a bit. So, yeah. And then just try to be healthy on all levels, right? And that includes your mind, includes your body, emotions. And emotions. You don't have to overdo it, and feel what's right for you, right? And so Cru mentioned she had turned vegan at the time. That helped her so much. I firmly believe vegan is not the right solution for everybody. you have to check what's the right solution for you. And being vegan can be the solution. It doesn't need to be the solution. So yeah, there's too many concepts out there, and we need to check in, okay, what's the right thing for us?
And that may change all the time.
It may even change.
What was right then might not be right now. So like I don't have a protocol. When people ask me, how do you work? Then I say, I can't tell you how I would work with you until you tell me what you want from me, because there is no protocol like that I will apply onto clients. Everybody's journey is so extremely individual that we can only be successful if we are allowing ourselves to change all the time, and adjust and orient on what has become true for the current moment. And that might not have been true for a moment before, so it's like the flexibility and being without concept is something that I truly believe is leading to a stellar life.
Right. And if somebody wants to work with you, where will they find you?
That's a really good question, because I am so overbooked that I have kept myself very quietly in all these open spaces. So the best way probably to reach me is through Phillip.
But there's another trick. So in that Telegram group, you also find Cru.
Yes.
You search for that, and then you can send her a message. She may, I don't know if she's so good about responding, but
I'm getting an assistant now, so it's getting better.
Yay.
So you can definitely try it there, and then if she doesn't respond within 48 hours, you can text me there. So that's a good way to get in touch.
And people want to get the quantum technology, where did they go?
Yeah, so the website is leelaq.com. That's LEELAQ.com. And then again, that Telegram group, I think, is a great way to learn, to ask questions and all of that. We have over 1,300 active users there now that talk about it. And yeah, those are the two main places I recommend.
Wow, guys, thank you so much. I personally, during this conversation, I felt like we were together in a past life. Seriously. I was like, oh, I love them so much. They're so great.
I'm sure we have been. The way how you picked up on us when we were just like in a split second seeing each other on the way out of that conference, that was connection, old connection.
For sure. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And thank you, listeners. Remember to follow your heart, connect with yourself constantly, be healthy on all levels, do what's right for you now in the moment, and have a stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time. Thank you for joining me on my mission to light people up and change lives around the world. I hope today's conversation inspires you to step up, go after the life of your dreams, and be who you want to be. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go to stellarlifepodcast.com for show notes, transcripts, and other cool stuff. And please subscribe, review, and help spread the word by sharing us on Facebook and Twitter. Have a lovely day, and I'll catch you on the next episode.